If you've ever been the quiet one, the one they ignored, or the one they pushed around, this story is for you. Because sometimes, the quietest ones carry storms inside them. And when those storms finally break out, even the loudest bullies can't stand in their way. Watch till the end, because what this boy does, will make you believe in your own strength. 12-year-old Arav sat in the second last row of Class 7B at St. Marigold High School. He had the look of someone who didn't want to be noticed, shirt always tucked in perfectly, shoes always clean, eyes mostly looking down, and voice barely above a whisper. He wasn't weak, but nobody saw that, not yet. To everyone in school, Arav was just the quiet boy. The one who didn't join in the cricket games, who ate alone at lunch, and whose name teachers had to double-check on roll call because he was that invisible. But to Arav, silence was his shield. A way to avoid trouble. He had promised his mother, after they lost his father in a road accident, he would stay out of fights. No trouble, beta. Let your books be your power, she'd always say. And so, he stayed quiet. Even when it hurt. But bullies don't care about promises. Especially not the trio from hell, Ronald, Vicky, and Samar. They were the loudest, tallest, and most feared boys in class. They didn't need reasons to make someone suffer. And they especially loved picking on the ones who didn't fight back. Arav was their favorite target. They started small, pulling his chair away just as he was about to sit, hiding his shoes during PT period, calling him Mama's robot, because he never spoke back. He didn't react, not once. But silence, to them, was weakness. And weakness made them feel powerful. One afternoon during chemistry, while Miss Neetu stepped out for just a minute, the class erupted like it always did. Paper planes flew, benches creaked, laughter echoed. Ronald leaned over to Arav and whispered with a wicked grin, "Still quiet, Arav. What if we help you speak?" Arav didn't respond. He was used to this. But this time, it was different. Ronald stood up and grabbed Arav's collar. "Say something, robot," he mocked, yanking him up from his chair. Arav blinked, startled. His classmates were watching now. Some laughing, some frozen. "Come on, speak up," Vicky added, slapping Arav's books off the desk. And then, it happened. Ronald's hand suddenly shot to Arav's neck, gripping his throat, hard. Not playfully, not jokingly, seriously, aggressively, as if to choke the silence out of him. Arav's hands flew to his neck. His breath caught. The classroom froze. "Say something now, huh?" Ronald growled, pushing him back against the bench. Arav couldn't breathe. For a brief moment, just 2 or 3 seconds, something inside him snapped. Not just air, but years of hurt, of staying silent, of being mocked, bottled up, cracked open. His mother's voice rang in his head, "Use your mind, not your fists." But something deeper growled back, "No more." His right leg lifted, fast and instinctively, striking Ronald right in the stomach. It wasn't wild. It was precise. Ronald stumbled back, gasping. Everyone went silent. Vicky and Samar charged, but Arav didn't freeze this time. He moved with clarity, as if something hidden had awakened. Vicky reached for him, Arav ducked, then flipped him over his hip in one clean motion. The thud of Vicky's body on the floor echoed louder than the gasp of the class. Samar ran in, fists up. Arav didn't run. He sidestepped, grabbed Samar's arm, twisted, and pinned him against the desk. It wasn't chaos. It was control. Everything was sharp, controlled, powerful. Miss Neetu returned right at that moment. 3 bullies on the floor. One quiet boy, standing still. Breathing hard, but steady. "Arav, what is going on?" she shouted, rushing in. But the class said nothing. Because for the first time, they weren't sure what to say. Arav didn't speak either. He just picked up his books from the floor, calmly placed them back on the desk, and looked up, his eyes not angry, not scared, just awake. That evening, Arav walked home with dust on his shirt and questions in his heart. He hadn't meant to hurt anyone. But he also hadn't meant to be hurt, every single day. He reached home, quietly opened the door, and stepped in. His mother saw the torn collar, the scratch on his neck, the rip on his sleeve. "Arav, what happened?" He paused, then whispered, "Mom, I didn't fight. I defended." She looked into his eyes. And saw something she hadn't seen before. Courage. Quiet, calm courage. She didn't say anything. just pulled him into a hug. I'm proud of you, Beta. That night, Arav sat on his bed, staring at the wall. He thought about how his hands had moved. How he had flipped Vicky. Twisted Samar's wrist. It wasn't random. It was precise. Measured. Because what no one knew, not even his bullies, was that Arav had spent 4 years training in silence. His father, before he died, had enrolled him in a traditional martial arts academy. You don't need to show this to the world. Just let it protect you when the world forgets how to behave, he used to say. Arav had stopped going after his father passed away. But the training never left him. It had been buried. Until now. What happened the next day shook the entire school. Because the bullies didn't stop. But now, neither did Arav. And what he did next would turn the whole school on its head. If you think Arav was done after what happened yesterday, think again. Because when a quiet soul finally decides to rise, no force, not even fear, not even bullies, can hold it down. Stay with us till the end of this story, because the most silent ones often roar the loudest. The next morning, the corridors of St. Marigold High buzzed like a hornet's nest. Arav flipped Ronald like a scene out of an action movie. He didn't just defend, he destroyed them. Did you see his moves? Was that judo? Karate? Magic? For once, Arav's name wasn't being whispered in pity. It was being said with awe. Respect. Confusion. Even fear. But Arav didn't walk differently. He didn't swagger, didn't look for attention. He entered school the same way he always did, quietly, head slightly down, backpack tight against his shoulders. Except now, everyone looked up when he passed. Students moved aside, some smiled, some stared, some even nodded respectfully, but not everyone was happy. Especially not the 3 bruised egos sitting at the back of the class. Ronald nursed a bandage on his chin. Vicky kept rubbing his shoulder. Samar still had a slight limp. Their pride was shattered, but worse, they felt humiliated. By him, a boy they had bullied for 2 years without a fight. They didn't want an apology. They wanted revenge. During recess, Arav was walking toward the library when he heard his name. Hey, warrior boy. It was Ronald, leaning against a pillar, arms crossed. Vicky and Samar flanked him, looking grim. Arav stopped. We're not done with you, Ronald said. What happened yesterday doesn't end here. Arav looked at them, calm, still. I didn't want any fight, he said, softly. But I won't stay silent anymore. Ronald stepped closer. So what now? You think you're some kind of hero? No, Arav replied. Just not your victim anymore. For a moment, there was silence. Then Ronald chuckled. Let's settle this. Behind the sports hall. After school. It wasn't an invitation. It was a challenge. And Arav accepted. By 3:15 p.m., the word had spread across the entire school. More than 70 students snuck behind the sports building. The staff room was too far to hear anything from back there. And in that dusty, open space, something incredible was about to happen. Arav stood at the center. Alone. Ronald, Vicky, and Samar stepped forward. Last chance, Ronald smirked. Kneel, say sorry, and we'll let it go. Arav shook his head. No more kneeling. With that, Ronald lunged forward, aiming a punch. But Arav moved, so fast it looked like a blur. He grabbed Ronald's wrist mid-air, twisted it, and sent him crashing down with a sweeping leg move. The crowd gasped. Samar charged from behind. Arav ducked, elbowed him in the ribs, and spun around with a clean back kick that sent Samar stumbling into a tree. Vicky tried to punch from the side, but Arav sidestepped, grabbed Vicky's arm, and used his momentum to flip him flat onto the ground. It was like watching a movie. Every move Arav made wasn't out of rage, it was out of precision. Trained reflex. Discipline. He wasn't fighting to hurt. He was fighting to end the fear. Ronald groaned, trying to get up. Where did you learn this? Arav walked forward and gently said, my father taught me. And my silence protected you for 2 years. Not anymore. Ronald lowered his eyes. The crowd was dead silent. But then, claps. One. Then another. Then dozens of hands applauding. Not because it was a fight. Because it was justice. Arav helped Vicky up, then Samar. Even offered his hand to Ronald. For a long second, Ronald just stared at it. Then, took it, and for the first time in 3 years, said, I'm sorry. That night, Arav returned home with dust on his shoes, scratches on his arm, and peace in his heart. His mother looked at him, his torn tie, his messy hair. He smiled. No trouble today, Amma. Just a promise kept. She hugged him, her eyes moist with pride. Your father would have been proud. The school had changed. Arav wasn't the quiet boy anymore. He was the one who walked with quiet strength. Ronald, Vicky, and Samar weren't feared anymore. They started helping out at the sports field, even joined Arav at the library once. And Arav, he started a self-defense club for kids who were afraid to speak up. Boys, girls, juniors, all came to learn. Not just kicks and moves, but courage, confidence, respect. He taught them what he had finally learned. Silence doesn't mean weakness, and kindness is never cowardice. But when someone tries to take your peace, you have every right to protect it. Arav stood in front of the small group in the self-defense club, kids who once hid behind their own silence. He took a deep breath and spoke. Sometimes life pushes you to a point where staying quiet isn't strength anymore, it becomes a prison. But you don't have to scream to be strong. You just have to believe that you are. And the room applauded, not just for what he said, but for what he stood for.